My lovely wife Pansa asked me at the end of the last rainy season, could I please make a pond for her? And yeah, the timing was good because the ground was soft enough to be able to dig and to be able to at least make a start on the pond. We're busy with all sorts of other things. So through the dry season, through our busy season with the homestay, I was able to spend time pondering the pond and how it was. I'd got the basic hole dug for it, but after that, yeah, it had to pause for a while. Part of the reason for this was because the ground's too hard in the dry season, and the other main reason for it was that, well, I've never made a pond before. I didn't know what I was doing. And so I spent the time, as I said, pondering a pond and what it was to make a pond. And so as the dry season progressed, every time I walked past here, when I was doing the gardening, I would come and just take a look and think about the shape of it and the size of it, how deep it needed to be, and how we were going to build it so that it would retain the water. The reason we needed a pond, why Pansa asked me to build a pond, was that she started growing lotus flowers and they need space to move. We've got some in pots, we've got like in bowls. They need water, they need a certain amount of mud, but the roots need room to walk, she says. They need to be able to grow into a space, and if the space is too small, the roots just get locked and tangled and the flowers and the plants don't develop as well as they can. So in putting a pond in, we've decided that this is the best option. Very, very cheap. We did it at virtually no cost because we had the black polythene already, we had some cement already, and a lot of sweat went into building this as well. And one of the most interesting experiences that I've had for quite a long time in doing something new in building this pond was that I decided not to consult the internet, not to ask Google, not to look at YouTube, not to consult any AI chatbots, but just to rely on my own experience and my own intuition, or our experience and our intuition, because there was a lot of discussion about building the pond and how to do it. And I wanted to do this purposefully as an exercise because I'm very aware that I have become so reliant on, oh, let me just check how to do that, without really stopping and thinking necessarily, oh, yeah, I know how to do that. I can figure this out, without having to consult a bunch of YouTube videos from other gardeners or pond builders or anything like that. And it's interesting. I'd mentioned the pond in a video a couple of weeks ago, and I had a couple of comments about building a pond and looking at certain YouTube channels to help me do this. But little be known to the people that had commented, I'd already made the pond, I dug the pond, I designed it, I built it, and it was pretty much finished. So with no consultation of anything digital, we've built a pond, we've made a pond. And yeah, it's probably a good 4 to 6 weeks since we filled it up, and it has not lost any water. My biggest concern was that the polythene liner that we used would get a hole in it and we would be losing water, but we're just not. It started raining again, so this was the impetus for me to carry on to continue building the pond. So really just cleaned it out, cleaned the basic shape out, got it a bit deeper than it was because it needed a little bit more depth. And then I had one other issue that I'd realised as I was looking at it, is that this piece of ground is not flat. At this end where I'm sitting, it's higher up than at the other end of the pond, which is probably 4 meters or so, 5 meters long. It wasn't much of a drop, but I decided, well, I could take the level of the land down at this end, or I could build it up at the other end. So that was what I did. I built it up at the other end. Just used some concrete blocks and some soil and dirt and built it up, and then, yeah, checked the level of it, used the string line on a level, so got it basically level. I'm not super fussy about getting everything perfect, so I was quite confident that it would work. Then it was a matter of getting the actual pond to a point where I was confident that there was no holes going to be poked through sticks or roots or rocks or anything. So I had been looking at a couple of things months earlier about mixing cement and soil. So yeah, I did consult the internet, not directly for this project, but I had gained information previously about making cement and soil mixture for use in the garden. So I thought, well, this will be a good thing to maybe line the pond with. We had extra soil. I was able to break it up so it was nice and fine and then mix it with cement. I think my mix ratio was 4:1 soil to cement, and then got it nice and sloppy and had fun playing in the mud, really just coating the inside of the pond and around the edges a little bit with the soft muddy mixture that was going to harden nicely and slowly over time. I had learned that it is best to keep the surface of the cement and soil mixture once it's applied, to keep it a bit damp for a week or so. So I'd covered it and sprayed it with water a few times during the week, and it was the beginning of the rainy season, so there was no real problem with it drying out too quickly. And yeah, there was a few cracks in it, but nothing major. Confident that this was good, I then lined the pond first with some old rice bags and then with some other old plastic that we had, just to provide a cushion before I put the black polythene on, and then we filled it with water. After a number of days, I was satisfied that there was no leaks in it, and then started to add the surrounds to it. And again, this was done with a mixture of soil and cement, and yeah, just applying it, building it up so that there was an edging on the pond, but also to keep the polythene in place and tight enough. And once that was done and settled and dry enough, again, we watered it, but to keep the moisture from drying out too quickly and avoid any cracking, and there's no major cracks with it. And then Pansa was able to place the first lotus roots in the pond and start to let them get established. And so as they're established, as they are beginning to grow, then this will give the leaves and the flowers room to really expand and really grow bigger than they would have done in a smaller pot. And so the experience for me of building the pond in this way without any consultation of the internet, of YouTube, of AI or anything like this, I was able to create something just through my own thinking and my own intuition, our own discussions about what to do and what we wanted. And yeah, it's worked out pretty well. And it's quite a departure because, as I said, I've become so reliant on finding out how to do something. And everything that I do here, and particularly when I'm making videos, I am sharing from our experience, not from a wealth of knowledge or not from a perspective of, well, I know how to do it and this is how you should do it, because life's not like that, and life in a garden certainly isn't like that. Whatever conditions that you're gardening in, they're different somehow than the conditions that I have in our garden. Where Pansa and I garden is going to be different than where you garden. And so it's really important that, yeah, sure, we can learn a lot from videos that experts share and videos from enthusiasts, but to be able to apply this knowledge, it's really important to just take as much as what we feel is just right for our situation and then adapt it to the way we work. I watched a fabulous video recently of a permaculture gardener who'd been gardening in the same location, the same garden, for over 40 years. And the one thing that he kept on saying is, oh, we're still experimenting. Oh, we're experimenting with this, or we're trying something different over here. And the reason being, he kept saying this was because he, even though he had 40 years worth of experience, he was still experimenting. He was still trying new things, because even on the same property, conditions change. Weather conditions change. Predators and pests and diseases come and go. And so, yeah, you're always having to adapt and try new things that you may have not tried in the past and that you will not be able to learn from AI or from a YouTube video or from a web page or even a book on the same subject, because our microclimates and our microenvironments that we live in are always changing, and they're definitely different than where everybody else lives. And the algorithms don't know what our weather conditions are. Not really. They might know it in Chomtong or in Chiang Mai, but here our weather conditions are different. Our soil's different. Our resources are different than they are in Nicaragua or the Netherlands. Here in Northern Thailand, yeah, we've got different environment, we've got different conditions, we've got different climate and weather conditions. So the information that we need to have a successful pond or anything else in our garden has got to be tweaked and it's got to be adapted. We've got to use our intuition. And I figure that if we're always consulting YouTube or anything else online, then we really aren't beginning to build the fullness of a garden that we can build. We've got to listen to the land, we've got to feel the land, we've got to experience the weather conditions, we've got to know the land, the dirt, the soil, the compost, the plants, what we plant where, if they like it, if they're happy, and if we need to make changes. And yeah, this is part of the joy of gardening, is this constant experimentation. But if we give it up and only rely on what we can learn online, then I think we're missing a lot of the enjoyment, and certainly missing out on discovering really cool new things that we can discover if we're more present in our gardens. And sure, it's important to have some sort of a plan. As I said, I pondered the pond for a long time during our dry season, never really had a strict foolproof plan in place, but I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with really not knowing exactly what to do and how to do it. I don't have to work to a strict plan every time, and this just gives me a lot more flexibility to make good mistakes and learn from them. If I'm working to a plan, if we're working to some fixed parameters that has to be done like this, and a mistake happens, it's easy to blame the plan. It's easy to sort of defer away from ourselves, and in which case we're not really going to learn from the mistakes that we're making. But if I'm working to my own plan, if I'm doing just what I feel is the right thing to do and it doesn't work, then yeah, I'm completely responsible for that. I can own that, and then I can figure out a way to overcome that difficulty or to improve on the design flaw or whatever had caused the mistake in the first place. And it's just a matter of working that out and enjoying this process of learning how to improve and do things better. And working this way, it's a lot more creative. I'm not relying on information coming off a server somewhere in the data center on the other side of the planet. I'm relying on what's happening right here and right now in our lives, and I find that this is really important. In modern society, yeah, we've become so comfortable with the convenience of this instant information that's on our phones or our tablets or our computers that can come to our aid. We need to learn again to be patient and to ponder and to really enjoy just being still in the garden and just being quiet in the garden and deciding for ourselves what we want to do, what we want to plant, what we want to build, and just to really enjoy the experience and enjoy making mistakes and enjoying how to overcome them. And really, this is how I feel we've become much more in tune and much more a part of the environment, the atmosphere, and the life of our garden. And in doing this and being present in our garden, it is, I find, a very wholesome and enjoyable way to live that connects us more with the land and with the things on our land, and certainly with the plants on our land as well. So rather than relying on apps to know what the weather's like or what the traffic's like or what we should do in our garden, I think it's really important just to take stock of, just what we do when we're doing it and live for right now. Talking about apps for the weather, quite often we have guests that come and stay here and ask, oh, what's the weather like on the mountain? And it's like, well, I look outside, I look out the window and look at the clouds over the mountain and feel the wind and see if there's any smell of rain in the air. This is the best way I know what the weather's going to be like here, because the apps never seem to get it right anyway. And so, yeah, ditching what we've come to think of as being convenient, sometimes it's just not convenient at all. It might save some time, but it also might just give us a false security or hope that whatever the information that we've been able to gather from our phone, from some app, is correct. Whereas if I look out the window, if I walk out into the garden and look at the sky, I'm going to get a much better idea of what the weather is actually doing. And this is a similar thing of just taking a walk through our garden and getting a real feel for, what we need to do and, what I need to add to my to-do list of what's to be done in the garden. And so rather than relying on artificial information, AI, all the time, I'm more and more relying on, looking around me and seeing what I'm seeing, hearing what I'm hearing, feeling what I'm feeling, and using these things to make decisions. Relying on my experience, relying on Pansa's experience, relying on these things that are close to us, rather than relying on what's being generated by somebody else in another part of the world. And we certainly like to share this as well too. Recently we've had some inquiries from people saying, oh, I'd love to come and visit, and I'll reply, of course, please do. We love it when we have people who are interested in our garden, people that maybe have seen our videos as well and you'd like to come and stay and come and talk to us about what we're doing in our garden. Come and have a meal with us and eat some of the food from our garden. Come and have a smoothie. Pansa's making some incredible smoothies. And this is all part of experiencing our garden, and we really do like to share that with our guests from time to time when we have people that come that are interested in what we're doing here. Come and talk to Pansa about lotus flowers and adenium and cactus and permaculture and everything else that we do here. It's a lot of fun. And if you're interested to know more about what we do here at Suansok, even if you can't visit us at our homestay, you can check out this video next. Thanks very much for watching this one all the way through.